Hey everyone, this is Fenomena Merlin Sports, and joining me tonight to break down the men's Olympic hockey tournament coming up is Ddawg. Ddawg, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. It's interesting times, obviously, with the fact that there's a pause in the NHL schedule and coming up for the Olympic hockey tournament. And if it's anything like the Four Nations was last year, I mean, with more teams, but it should be great hockey.
Yeah, we're in for a treat, and it's been a while since there's been Olympic hockey. So we are going to see the debut of many of today's superstars that didn't get a chance to play at the last Olympics because, of course, the NHL didn't send players for the last two Olympics. So it's been a while. So we're going to see the debut of players like Connor McDavid, I think, is at the top of that list. Pretty exciting. The premier player in today's game is finally going to get a chance to seek Olympic gold. A lot of good American players as well. Jack Eichel, Auston Matthews, Cale Makar too on Canada. So, I mean, this is pretty exciting. Yeah. So the NHL's coming to a full stop, and Olympics start on February the 11th for men's hockey. So we're gonna let's take a look at the three groups, and then we'll go over the rules. There's some nuances, and then we will get into like who we think's gonna, who's gonna come out of the groups, and who's gonna be a strong contender, medal contender. So we have Group A. So there's 12 teams in total, and the rules are. They need some explaining because even though there's three groups, the top four, the teams with the best four records will be seeded 1 through 4. The remaining 8 teams will play each other. They'll be ranked as well, 5 through 12, and then 5 will play 12, 6 will play 11, and so on and so forth. The top 4 seeds earn a bye directly to the quarterfinals, and teams ranked 5 through 12 play each other, and the winners of those matchups then go into the quarterfinals, and they will play accordingly. Looking at the groups here, we have Group A, and it's comprised of Czechia, France, Switzerland, and Canada. Group B has Finland, Italy, Slovakia, and Sweden. And Group C has Denmark, Germany, Latvia, and USA. And of course, we will not see Russia in these Olympics. So I think you could kind of see the top teams from each group here. The perennial contenders. So let's go right to Group A: Czechia, France, Switzerland, and Canada. And of course, Canada. Well, the last time NHLers were in the
Sochi
Olympics, Canada won gold. So, they'll be one of the top teams coming into this one. So it's interesting. So let's take a look. I think Canada's the favorite to come out of this group. Then I think you have Czechia. For me, Czechia is the next best. Especially they performed well at World Juniors. So they
agreed.
They have some talent, and they have some pretty good NHLers. Looking at their roster here, Lucas Dostal's their goalie. He plays, of course, Anaheim. Dan Vladov, he plays for Philly. So their goalies are pretty decent. I mean, I think these two goalies are probably compare pretty good with Canada's goalies. So, and we'll touch to that in a minute, like that Canada's weakest position. And then you have some pretty decent players. Like their defense, there's only a handful of NHLers on their defense. Ratko Gudas, of course, a rugged defenseman. He's probably one of the most well-known for their decor. Some of their forwards are pretty decent, like David Pasternak is a legit scorer. Thomas Hurdle, another good player.
H's.
Martin Natchez, yeah, like those are some pretty good players. Pavel Zacha's pretty decent. So they'll have probably two pretty good lines, and then they'll have depth for their next two lines. So I don't think I think they'll be competitive, and they can't be overlooked. But they're a pretty decent, half decent contingent.
Yeah, they're a very solid team. I mean, and even from before, like even without the NHL players, I think they would field a pretty good team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's take a look at Switzerland. They always carry a handful of NHLers. Kira Schmidt is their the most well-known goalie, of course. He plays with Vegas. Kevin Fiala, Nico Hischier, Timo Meyer, Nino Niederreiter, Aya Suter. So those are some of the big names on up front. Their defense, Roman Josi is he's a legit NHLer.
Even at his advanced age, he's still a fairly solid NHL defenseman.
Even at 35 years old, I mean, he was a finalist for the Norris Trophy within the last couple of years. So he's pretty solid defenseman. And they always seem to have a goalie that stands on their head. So it's the thing with hockey. You get a hot goalie here, and
absolutely,
man, as we've seen in other years, and even with Switzerland, I think Canada had a hard time with Switzerland in previous Olympics because of a hot goalie. Martin Gerber was on fire one year.
The last time the Olympics were in Italy, Martin Gerber stood on his head and they beat Canada. So this is a tricky group for Canada, actually.
Yeah, I don't think we need to look at France. I think it's safe to say France is going to finish at the basement. We could take a look at Canada here. I mean, let's just get their weakest position out of the way, which is goaltending. So Binnington, Kemper, and Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson, of course, is doing the best out of the three. But Binnington has, I think he's safe to say he's going to start game one. Sounds like, and depending on how he does, he's gonna. It's either he's going to start well, he's going to get more starts. I think they'll go game to game with him. They'll be a bit careful, but he's earned at least the nod in game one, and they'll see where they go from there, by the sounds of it. But like this team is stacked, right? On the back end, Cale Makar, Devin Taves, Josh Morrissey, Colton Parenko, Shea Theodore. Like, there's not a weak defenseman in that.
Yeah, and you got the old reliable veteran who's been through. This would be his fourth Olympics.
I think so. 36 years old, Drew Doughty. Yeah, the elder statesman. I like Thomas Harley too. I thought when he was inserted in Four Nations, he
was fantastic.
Yeah, he was good. And then brings us to the forward group. I think this is the best. This is the best forward group of all the teams in the Olympics. It starts with Connor McDavid, right? Like, look at these centers they put down the middle, right? Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby,
Nathan MacKinnon.
Like, it's just crazy the amount of depth. There's some. I like how they mixed in some youth as well. Macklin Celebrini. I mean, you had to bring him. He's had such an outstanding season. It's a good injection of youth.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I think if you look at it from Canada's standpoint, they got a good mix of guys who are really skilled, but they got some size that can push some people around if they need to. Leaning on it, you got Tom Wilson, you got Sam Bennett. Nathan McKinnon's is still a big boy, even though he's a highly skilled player. So
he plays
Mark
hard,
Stone,
yeah.
Mark Stone, another one. So
Brendan Hagel's tough to play against too.
Yeah. So they brought
Brad Marchand.
Well, he's just a pest. But
yeah, he's difficult to play against. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say that Canada is the big favorite to come out of that group. In the second,
I don't know, but I don't know if they're the big favorite. I mean, there's going to be some tricky games there. I mean, this is not the toughest group, but this is a pretty tough group. But yeah, Canada should win. I mean, they're the heavy favorites to win the tournament, so they should win and get out of this group. But they're going to have some competitive games against Czechia and Switzerland.
Yeah, that might be closer than they would like, but I don't think the outcome was going to be in doubt. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Let's go to Group B because there's more competitive here between Finland, Slovakia, and Sweden. This is the toughest group, actually.
Hands down.
Italy, with the home team, but they didn't take many. There's not a lot of ex-NHLers, or sometimes you see they offer a lot of international players citizenship to beef up their team. They didn't really do that this time. So
you mean a lot of Italian Canadians?
Yeah, and Italian Americans. So they're going with a lot of domestic players. So good luck to them, but they're probably going to get clobbered in this group. So let's take a look at Finland, who's always pesky, a very pesky team. Their goalies are pretty decent, right? Korpisalo, Lankinen, and Saros.
Very good goaltending.
Right, and their defense. There's some guys that are hard to play against here, right?
Heiskanen.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then Nico Mikkola, that towering defenseman from Florida. Oli Mata, Rasmus Ristolainen. So they, of all the European teams, Finland's usually the most physical, the most defensive, and the most physical. So they're actually very difficult to play against. You will never blow Finland out. That's for sure. Up front, some of their big name players, Mikko Rantanen. Wow, Mikko Rantanen, Sebastian Aho, Rupi Hintz, Lackinen from Colorado, Lundell, Florida, Teravainen from Chicago. There's some good talent here. They're all they sport, except for one defenseman, an all NHL lineup.
Yep.
So, and these guys are there are cup winners on this lineup. There are playoff veterans, and they have a lot of experience. So this is a very formidable team. Let's see how they compare against Slovakia. And so Slovakia, kind of similar to Czechia. I mean, they're always they're competitive. They're a pretty decent team too. So let's see. I'm looking at their goaltending. Okay, so their goaltendings are not even the NHLers that are there. They're backups. So I don't see that any big name goaltenders there. Defense, Cernak from Tampa Bay is probably their biggest name defenseman. Same Simon Nemec, also from New Jersey. So their defense is not. There's only a couple of NHLers on defense. Let's look up front. Probably the biggest name player is Slavkovsky from Montreal Canadiens. Oh, Thomas Tatar, but he not in the NHL this season, but he's well known.
Yeah, he's been around.
Yeah. So probably of all the contender teams, this is probably the weakest of the teams that are legitimate medal threat. So this is probably the weakest of those.
Yeah, I think they're a second tier, but they could bite somebody.
Yeah, they'll be. I mean, it's on European soil, so they'll put up a tough fight. Let's look at Sweden, who's probably the most talented in this group and one of the most talented teams in the league. Their goaltending will be pretty good. Philip Gustafsson, he's having a great year for Minnesota. Jacob Markstrom, not so much a good year, but
yeah, he's been struggling, but yeah.
Let's look at this defense. Rasmus Anderson, Philip Broberg, Rasmus Dahlin, Oliver Ekman-Larsson,
Victor Hedman,
Victor
Hedman, who's the thing, Erik Karlsson. So you have the two
Lindholm.
You have the two, big time veterans who, who've been around the league. They know how to win. They know how to play. So they're gonna be a very difficult team. I think this is the best team in their division.
Yeah, this is a great defense. Yeah. Of course, up front, they have the likes of William Nylander, Jesper Bratt, Philip Forsberg, Adrian Kempe, Landeskog,
Elias Peterson.
Yeah, Elias Peterson. I mean, yeah, he's struggled last couple of years in NHL, but some guys just can turn it on in international play.
Well, Mika Zibanejad too. He's been around a while for the Rangers, and he's a guy that's injected and is
Lucas Raymond, Richard Raquel. Like, this is a solid team, right? I would say the Sweden is probably the best team in that Group B.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, but of course, Finland and Sweden are great rivals, so that's always one of the matches to look forward to.
It's gonna be a physical, dirty game.
Yeah,
it's gonna be heated.
Right. We go to Group C. This quite obviously is the weakest group. Denmark, Germany, Latvia, and USA. USA being the strongest team, of course, but the other three, Germany sometimes has some NHLers.
Well, they got one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
So
Draisaitl.
Leon Draisaitl is gonna give them a chance against any team.
Philip Grober and Grubauer and that. So they got a brand name goalie at least. Morris Seider. So he's a really good defenseman with Detroit. So there's just one NHL defenseman. And then Draisaitl, like one of the top 5, for sure top 10, but probably top 5 best players in the league. JJ Peterka, Lucas Reichel, Nico Sturm, Tim Stützle is a really good player too with Ottawa. So yeah, they're probably gonna have like that. Their top line is legit. It's gonna be their top line is gonna rival some of these other big teams. So they'll at least be able to hang. And what they like to do is keep the game close. I don't want to say trap because that's almost impossible to do in Olympic rules, but they'll as close to a trap style as they can get. Germany.
Well, the teams who aren't as talented are going to have to slow the game down, right? They're not going to defend, and they're not going to be high powered and stuff like that. Denmark has Frederik Andersen in net, and Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Mm-hmm.
But right, so they have
Nikolai Ehlers, pretty good player.
Nikolai Ehlers is another good one.
Lars Eller, there's a veteran.
Yeah, so
and that's probably those are the biggest name players, but a couple of NHLers hanging on there.
Yeah, obviously they're not going to be a team that's going to contend for a medal, but they might get into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, because they'll be competitive against Germany. Germany will have a hard time, and Latvia, right? So they'll be right there to probably push to make it out of the to try to go to the quarterfinals. Of course, Latvia is like an improving nation in hockey, right? Like they got a couple of good goalies. They always seem to produce some half decent goalies. Yeah.
Back in the day,
Archie Irbe, yeah, of course, the most famous Latvian goalie,
yeah.
But they have the Columbus goalie and Pittsburgh's backups. Silovs is also Latvian. They don't really have too many big defensemen, but up front, probably Grigensons on Tampa Bay is probably their most well-known player. He's pretty decent. Does a good job on Tampa Bay. And Teddy Bluger on Vancouver. He's got some skill on offense. But they'll probably be looking to put up try to win with a hot goaltender and stack the defense, park the bus in front of the net. That's probably their best chance.
Yep.
Let's take a look at this USA roster. It's stacked, similar to Canada. Now they may have the best defense of all the whole tournament, and might have the best goaltending too. But we're going to talk about that in a second, because
I would say that they have the best goaltending in terms of 1, 2, and 3, because any one of their 3 goaltenders could start and be really high caliber. They have a couple of Vezina winners, don't they?
Yeah, Jake Ottinger, Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
So they're stacked in goaltending. Jeremy Swayman is your third goalie. That's pretty good, right? And look at this defense, right? Like Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski. I really like Jacob Slavin on Carolina. We're really seeing how good he was in Four Nations. Like, this guy's a shutdown, as good a shutdown defenseman get. Jake Sanderson, Noah Hannafin, Brock Faber. Like, that's a pretty stacked defense as well. Charlie McAvoy. And then up front, you have Jack Eichel, your Auston Matthews, Tage Thompson. Also, I think that's a good addition for the U.S. team that was missing from the Four Nations. Of course, you got the Tkachuk brothers too, who they should be pretty healthy. So, I mean, this is a formidable team, right? Jake Gunsel, Kyle Connor. Yeah. Like this team is right up there talent-wise with Canada and Sweden. Okay, so I think it's safe to say USA. I see USA, Canada, and Sweden kind of winning their respective groups. And then, do you think those are the 3 medal threats?
I think you got 4 medals. I think you got 4 teams who can easily and legitimately win the gold medal. Right? You got Canada, you got United States, you got Finland and Sweden. Right? Yeah. Those are the
Isn't it funny? It's the Four Nations. The Four Nations all over again.
Minus Russia, right? I mean, obviously, Russia would change this entire Olympic tournament because they always produce high-end players. And
I mean, if Russia was in this tournament, they'd be one of the top contenders right there with Canada, U.S., and Sweden.
You have one of the great hockey nations not in the Olympics.
Definitely. So, okay, so we're saying it's basically the same 4 Four nation teams that are the top medal threats here. So, who do you see winning gold? Who do you think's going to win gold here?
Well, I mean, obviously Canada is the favorite going in. They have the best team. Their questions are goaltending. I know you mentioned the United States, the defense core, but I think Canada has better defense. Over top to bottom, Canada's got a little bit of everything. The U.S. is kind of catching up, but they're not quite there yet. And then the forwards, Auston Matthews is what the U.S. best player, and Connor McDavid is light years ahead of him. So, I think Canada wins gold. Now, who they play in the gold medal game, that's going to be an interesting. I'd kind of like to think that from Four Nations, it's a different ice surface. It's a cross thing. The last time the U.S. went to, let's face it, last time both teams went to Italy, it was not a great tournament for either team. So we'll see how that goes, if that has any impact. The last time Canada went to the Olympics was obviously Sochi for the NHL players, and they won it, and they won it with D. And you could argue the U.S. had the better goalie then. We can pretty much argue that the U.S. have the better goalie again. They have the better three goalies again. But Jordan Binnington has proven that he, in the big time games, like he made some fantastic saves in overtime in that Four Nations. That Four Nations game was in the United States. So, but I like Canada to win gold. I mean, they're coming here. They got the best player in the world. They probably have the second best player in the world in Nathan MacKinnon. So it's you got one and two, and I think probably the third best player in the world is Leon Draisaitl. So, and then they have the best defenseman, right? Cale Makar is the best. I mean, I thought Connor McDavid's fast, and Cale Makar is just as fast. Right? His defense can be suspect at times, but I think they have good pairings. So, yeah, I can't win. I'll say they'll play Sweden in the gold medal game, not the Americans. I think they'll play Sweden in the gold medal game, but it's going to be a tough tournament. And the Four Nations, those four teams in the Four Nations, they're probably going to win. They'll probably be the top four seeds. If anything, Finland and or Sweden might not be a number 2 seed or the second best seed in that division. That is the group of death, if you want to have one. I mean, Italy's here to show up and be in the country, but I don't see them as as a team that's going to beat any of those other teams. But that division is the group of death. Canada's going to have a couple tricky games. I don't think the U.S. is going to get tested until the medal round, like the quarterfinals. So they'll get through they'll get through there. If they stumble in the preliminary rounds, they're in trouble. So, but yeah, I like Canada win over Sweden. Repeat of Sochi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, I agree with most of the points that you said. Like Canada, the best forward is in Canada, the best two forwards. McDavid and MacKinnon, the best two forwards in the world, right? The best defenseman in the world is Cale Makar. No disrespect to Hughes on Team USA, but barring a meltdown from their goaltending, I do think we're probably going to see Logan Thompson come into this tournament. I think they're going to keep the leash short with Jordan Binnington just because of the struggles he's had in the NHL this season. They're going to give him the benefit of the doubt to start game one, but I think they will work Logan Thompson in, and they will not hesitate to start him in the big games come quarterfinals if they need to. I think Canada's just got too much. They just got too much talent, too much experience. We haven't even mentioned Sidney Crosby, who was outstanding at the Four Nations. I'm like you. I like Sweden probably to face Canada in the finals, and I think their defense is outstanding. Victor Hedman and Rasmus Dahlin, um, like that. Those two defensemen can rank amongst the top in the world, right? And then, they just play a good team game. They have a good team system, a good team game. I think as good as the Americans are, sometimes the emotions can get the better of them. I guess Chuck's being at the forefront of that. Sometimes that's good. They can draw the team into the fight, and other times it can cost them with discipline and penalties. And I don't think. I'd be surprised if you see you saw there were those fights right off the draw at Four Nations.
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to see that because Olympic rules, international rules, you get ejected from the game if you fight. So I don't think you're going to see that kind of game. You will see a tough, hard-fought game, lots of scrums. Big hitting, but you won't see the premeditated drop the gloves. They'll be out of the game if that happens in international rules. So I think that kind of negates USA tried to intimidate Canada. You can't really intimidate Canada playing that way.
And I think this year is going to be different because Canada. I mean, they had tough guys before, but I mean, they're bringing Tom Wilson, who's, he's kind of an enforcer, right? That's his kind of thing. He's the muscle. So if anybody gets out of line, Mark Stone's another guy who's a big dude. He's kind of the muscle, right?
Oh yeah, between Bennett and Tom Wilson. Canada is not getting intimidated.
No,
at all. Right. And so I just think Sweden will be a highly disciplined team, and I think they will make it to the final. I would say don't sleep on Finland either because of just Rantanen. I think Rantanen is one of the best players in the world, and he scares me.
Well, you saw what he did. You saw what he did in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I mean, he personally did in Colorado. He had a hat trick in that deciding game. So, this guy can go off, and their defense core is really good as well.
But
yeah. So, and they do have this team is stacked on offense. So similar to Sweden, they will be well coached, well disciplined. They all buy into the what the coach is selling them, and teams better be on notice for Finland because they are a very dangerous opponent. That being said, I think it's Canada-Sweden in the gold medal match, and I give Canada the edge to win the gold medal.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd have to pick, the two best, if you had to pick against Rantanen, who had a great, like I said, he had that playoff series, or McDavid, you're going with McDavid. McDavid's the best player in the world, right? So
yeah. Okay. Well, I can't wait. The action starts on February the 11th for hockey at the Olympics, and can't wait to see this modern day NHLers in action. So yeah, long overdue.
Yeah, I mean it's been 12 years, right? So it's going to be good to get them back, and if like I said, if it's anything like the Four Nations was last year, that was some intense, very good hockey, right? And you didn't have the dirty stuff. You had highly skilled games, fast paced, up and down, and you could see the skill on display, right?
Right.
And those guys were playing in really intense hockey.
Okay, well there you have it, folks. That's our preview for the men's Olympic hockey, and thanks for joining us. Thanks, Ddawg. We will talk to you soon.
My pleasure. You take care.